Okay, last video. Review. This book sucks. K.P. Yohannan. I'm sure I could raise people's dander about this one. And these are not exactly all the same subject. It's kind of the same subject. I'll call it all evangelism, but on different subjects. Or discipleship, that kind of thing. Pursuing the Dream of Organic Christianity. This is a step outside of the box. Frank, and this book's okay. This book does an okay job, but the ideas are very good, I think, of saying, well, did Jesus form a denomination? I mean, I don't know exactly where it starts out. I don't remember exactly where it starts out. The book's way too long. You know, in my estimation, some people think it's just a little bit too long. I think it's way too long. 306 pages. You wasted my time by about 100 pages. A really sharp guy on this kind of stuff. Why do we have church buildings? Why do we have denominations since Jesus didn't have denominations? It's out of the will of God, from my belief, and I believe from good old Frank's belief here. People read his books and they don't know what they say. Well, yeah, I'll go back to my denomination and talk about this. Or go back to my church and talk about it. You're not reading his book. I don't know what you've been smoking, but but you're not reading his book. He didn't say go back to your denomination. He said, you better be ready to leave your denomination. Reimagining church. That means don't do it the same way you've been doing it, because, hey, here's a hint, it doesn't work. And you're wasting your time. That's pretty heavy, so don't mean to be too hard. But don't waste your time, pardon my French, but lighting candles and working on a new building and dusting and vacuuming a big building when the original church met in the home. The original church did not divide itself. Paul reprimanded the Corinthian church in 1 Corinthians 1. He says, why are you dividing yourself? You say you're of Apollos. You say you're of Paul. You say you're of Peter. And then somebody says they're of Christ. The one that says they're of Christ is right, and the rest of you are wrong. The church was not built on anything but Christ. Jesus Christ is a foundation, Paul states very strongly. What does it say here? Pursuing the dream of organic Christianity. The concept of it is not procedural Christianity. And this kind of stuff, it may be impossible or maybe very hard for people to implement the idea of organic Christianity instead of being a social club. It's the whole thing I've said before about being born again versus being just what is considered a Christian. Getting that faith in contact with somebody who can do something about it for you, who will make you a new creature. A lot of talk about that. It doesn't work, and without that, it's hard to implement the reimagining church thing. Author of Pagan Christianity, the stuff that makes you, go crazy, and I have a video on that's funny. Author of Pagan Christianity, which I haven't read yet, but you just, with all the curtains and the beautiful door, and the statues or whatever church you go to, that wasn't the church. When you say, I'm going to go to church, the New Testament church, the New Testament call would be more accurate to say, would not know what you were talking about. We're going to go to church and sing some songs. They wouldn't know what you're talking about. It was a family. Paul talked about the family of God. Talks about brothers and sisters and all this stuff. Talks about God as our Father. You said, if God were your Father. It's not an organization. If the Christ in you needs to be channeled, I'm going to sound like Doug Perry. I don't want to sound like Doug Perry. Oh. If the Christ in you has to be controlled, that Jesus Christ's expression, I'm not saying your mistakes or your bad behavior. I'm talking about Christ in you has to be put in a box. If the Spirit, and it's I'm no illusion that people don't know God. That if you look at Apollos in Acts, he knew about God. He preached God. But the man wasn't born again. And Aquila and Priscilla helped him to understand the way of God more accurately. Exact quote, more accurately. From something like Acts 17 or something like that. 17, something like that. I don't know, 20, 19. Actually, maybe about Acts 15, 12, something like that. So, it ends up being a social club. But it's a good foundation. It's a good foundation for how the church should be. It is people bearing one another's burdens, not people, saying, well, I'll get to you after we've done the important part, after we've done the ritual communion, which, is supposed to be a meal together. And is not supposed to be something I have to take, but something that you ponder in consideration, Paul said, of the whole church. You don't, go ahead and let's say, well, I'm going to eat all the food or I'm going to drink all the alcohol, all the wine. And Paul says, I don't praise you for this. He basically says, shall I praise you for this? He says, nope. Okay. So, Shepherd's Guidebook. It has the idea of, okay, you got regular church on Sunday, then you got this and something else extra. That's a hybrid. But it starts out, I liked it, how it really started out. He very logically looked at church structure. But he couldn't get beyond the denominational constraints, which divides us rather than unites us. This gets a little bit tighter and tighter, each of these books I'm picking up. I just thought about it. Goes from missions to church, to the specific church, to the structure. It's kind of the same thing. This gets a little tighter. The last book does. Rethinking the Wineskin, great book. 4 out of 5, or 4 out of 4.5 to 5 stars. If you can think, if this matters to you, if you can accept new thought and believe that maybe you're wrong, or that maybe you need to think about this stuff again. Rethinking the Wineskin. Great book. No question about it. Frank Viola. But it's the same thing as Reimagining Church, but it's a better book. And this guy is 200 pages rather than 306 pages. Thinner. I don't know what he was on that he was kept on writing. But getting a little typewriter happy. So and this once again gets right back to tightening it down to how do we evangelize, or how do we bring up people? It gets intimate, more personal. This is that one was probably about 4 to 4.5 stars, maybe out of 5. This is about 4.5 to 5 out of 5 stars. I got it at about $6, $7 plus shipping. You have to get it at the church or someplace where they have it available. It should be out of print, but they've got them still available some places. Discipling the Multiplying Ministry. How did Jesus do it from square one on through? More the structure than what exactly he said. You know, you got the message, hopefully. He doesn't put the message in you. But it says, okay, you got the message. How was this carried out? And Jesus passed it on, and they passed it on. And Paul said, give it to others that are trustworthy, that they can pass it on.